Hi everyone, Vanessa Webb, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Australia here with you today. I have a really cool background technique to share with you using the new embossing paste. So let's get started. The embossing paste is actually found on page 201 in the annual catalogue. Let me show you where you can find it. We have the paste itself, but there's also a couple of tools that you can use with it. One is the palette knives, which help you spread it around, especially when you're using it with the Pattern Party decorative masks. So I wanted to show you that technique first, and then I'm going to show you another technique that allows you to create snow on your cards, which is particularly great for Christmas, which is coming up very soon. So here's the card that we'll be creating. And if I tilt it in the light, you'll see that it's actually, the background's actually done on glossy cardstock. So I'm going to bring in my glossy cardstock, which is back in the catalogue. We used to have this in the Stampin' Up! Catalogue previously, and there's some really, really fun techniques that you can do with the glossy cardstock. This one though is just a very simple technique, direct to paper. So you're going to use your ink pad, bit like a sponge, and hold it at the top, hold your piece of cardstock at the top, and then just drag your ink pad over the top like that. So you get a bit of a streaky effect on there. Now this ink will dry eventually. It just takes a little bit longer than it would on your Whisper White cardstock or Very Vanilla. But because it's so super smooth, you can actually make some really lovely sort of streaky effects in the background. And it's okay to have some white showing. So I really like that white and shade, that sort of uneven effect. So you're going to set that aside to dry just for a couple of minutes. And I'll close my ink pad. So the colours I used were Perfect Plum and Fresh Fig. These will be in the information down the bottom of my video tutorial today. So you'll be able to see the ingredients that I've used. Now the decorative masks, while that's drying, let me show you the patterns that you get. There's this diamond pattern. There's also a brick wall, which is really lovely. There's clouds. These are just made of plastic, so they're really easy to wash. And there's this beautiful medallion as well, which you can use the whole of or just part of, especially when you're using it on a card front. So I'm going to show you some samples using a couple of those as well in a second. But the one we're going to use today is this one. So what you'll need to do is place your mask on top of your project like that. And with the 3 palette knives, the one that I use the most with the masks is this one. There's a couple of other ones, a little bit like a trowel and a spatula, which you can also use to apply the paste in different ways. So that one's got a little bit more of a pointed end, so if you wanted to shape things, you could use that one. This one's great for an overall area, which we're using today with the mask. You'll need to make sure with this paste that you put the lid on straight away after you've used it, because it will dry out quite quickly, and that's one of the great things about it. You don't have to wait for it to dry for too long on your projects, but you just need to remember to put that lid on so that your paste doesn't dry out when you want to use it or before you want to use it the next time. So I'm just getting a little bit of the paste on my spatula, and I'm going to drag it straight over the top. I'm only going to do half of my piece of cardstock as a background with the paste, because I wanted to leave the rest of it free of paste to get that sort of diagonal effect with my project, because nothing is straight on this project. So I'm just making sure that that is smeared into the holes. You can sort of see as the ink pattern starts to disappear at the back. Now don't worry if you sort of get things fading off towards the edge, because that's pretty much the effect that you want to go for with this card. I'm just going to pop the rest back there so we can use that later. Put my lid on. Incidentally, I found it handy to have some baby wipes for when I'm using my spatulas as well as the masks. So you don't have to keep running to the sink. You will need to get this off ASAP as it will dry and it will go hard pretty quickly. So I'm just going to lift this off carefully and you can see that really, really cool background. See the beautiful contrast. The textures are great with this paste. So just give that a wipe over. See how easy that comes off with a baby wipe. That's a little tip for you when you're using your paste. Okay, let me bring one in. That will dry in a couple of minutes, so you'll be able to use that on a project, but we don't have time for that today in the video. So I thought I'd just bring in one that I'd prepared earlier, which is now dry. And you can put this on a card. I've actually with my card I've used a couple of different pieces to mount it onto the lemon lime twist background, and I've used my beautiful lemon lime twist ombre ribbon just to finish it off there. So you'll see, yeah, that it makes a really, really cool background, and you could use any sentiment on the front there. Let me show you a couple of other cards that I've used the different masks in the background with. So this one here is using the beautiful Climbing Orchid bundle, and you can see in the background I have used the ink direct paper, and I've used the brick wall mask instead of the other pattern. So it's like the orchid is climbing up a brick wall, so it's just a suggestion of a brick wall in the background. The other one here is not one that I've created, but this is where I got the idea for the technique that I've used, and it was a swap by Karen Titus from the Thailand incentive trip, and you can see she's used a multicolored background, but she's used the beautiful medallion mask in the background with the embossing paste. So that's two different ideas for you. The other idea that I wanted to share is how to create snow. Now I saw this, I think it was on Patty Bennett's Facebook page, and I thought, what a great idea. So using one of the smaller spatulas, you could either use the pointy one or this one with the rounded tip. I'm going to grab this one. And again, I'm just going to open up my embossing paste and grab a little tiny bit on the end. Actually, we want it on this side because we're going to smear it on. Now, this is where you're using the paste a little bit like you would buttercream icing, because it's pretty much the same consistency. And you're going to smear that on. I'm just going to hold it up in midair like that, so I don't get it on my work surface, and you'll find that it's quite easy to place it where you want it. Just bring it out to the tips of the tree. These trees are actually from the card front Thinlits dies, and it's a new bundle that's in the holiday catalogue, which you can get now because the catalogue is out, which is very exciting. So I don't know if you can see that. Can you see how I've just smeared that on? Now again, that will dry, but before it does, we want to do something else with it. You know how snow is beautiful and sparkly? We actually don't have it here at Christmas time in Australia, but I have seen some beautiful snowscapes, winter landscapes, and the snow really does look like it's sparkling in some instances, especially when the light is low and you get all those lovely snowflakes reflecting the light. So what we want to do is just use this as a palette, and I'm going to catch the dazzling diamonds. I'm going to sprinkle a few pinches of the dazzling diamonds over the top. So this is, I guess, what you call the icing sugar or the cashews that you'd put on the top of your cupcakes if you were icing them. And that is going to sit in the embossing paste. And when it dries, it actually stays. So let me show you a card that I've created. It's actually a 3D card. And this one is a diorama. So you could actually put a tea light. There's room for a couple of tea lights to sit there, which is why I've made it the size that it is. And I thought this would be a lovely gift idea for somebody coming up to Christmas. But you can see how the embossing paste has caught the dazzling diamonds. And again, inside the card there, I've got the snow sort of in the landscape in that second layer, so you can see all that dimension and that sparkle coming out as well. I hope you've enjoyed these techniques, and I hope you give the embossing paste a go, because it really is quite fun to play with. There are a couple of tools that make it easier for you, and of course you can just use it freeform like I have on trees and the ground when you're creating your beautiful Christmas cards this year. Thanks for watching. Bye.